Let's fucking go! On today's special episode on Let 'em Know Kings, I will be breaking down and previewing the two biggest playoff matchups in the NBA as the 4th-seeded Cleveland Cavaliers take on the 5th-seeded New York Knicks, and the 3rd-seed Sacramento Kings take on the 6th-seed Golden State Warriors. It is going to be an action-packed episode heading into the playoffs on Saturday night. And we're here to break it down. So, Cavs and Kings fans, lock in and let's ride. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for an all-new episode of the post-game podcast of the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Sacramento Kings. This is Let 'em Know Kings! Let's go! Forgive me for my excitement, but it is almost playoff time for the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Sacramento Kings. Welcome to episode 6 of Let 'em Know Kings. Yes, I changed the name from Let 'em Know SK to Let 'em Know Kings, but it's a different name, but it's the same vibes. It is the same vibes. It is the same energy, but it's a different kind of energy, y'all. It's a playoff energy because, in the words of Lizzo, it's about damn time that the Sacramento Kings and the Cleveland Cavaliers are in the NBA playoffs. Normally, this is a post-game reaction podcast, but in today's special episode, it's going to be a little bit different because I will be previewing both of the Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks playoff Cleveland Cavaliers and the Sacramento Kings, I should say, playoff matchups. I'm a little too excited right now, but it's a good thing that I'm excited because I am so pumped. I am so pumped for the NBA playoffs. I cannot even freaking wait anymore. Before we get into that, though, I'm your host, Skylar Weisberg, and it is my honor and my privilege to be your host today. And you can find Let 'em Know Kings, which is free and available on Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Radio Public, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, and podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/CLESK. Again, you can find Let 'em Know Kings on Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Radio Public, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, or podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/CLESK, or you can download the free Spotify for Podcasters app, which is available on your iTunes or Google Play stores, and you can listen to that show on the app as well. And please, one final thing, do not forget to rate and spread the word out to your friends. I would appreciate you guys so much if you can rate and spread the word out to your friends about it. I'm trying the best that I can with the situation that I'm going through right now, but I promised myself that I would record this show to help me spew a little bit of my energy that I'm feeling right now. But now that that's out of the way, let's get down to some fucking playoff business as the Cleveland Cavaliers are set as the number 4 seed take on the number 5 seed New York Knicks. And it's really, really appropriate that I call this the Spider Bowl because it falls down to only one man and one name only, which is number 45, Donovan Mitchell. And I have been hearing a lot of crap. I've been hearing a whole lot of crap from people on ESPN, a lot of crap from Stephen A. Smith in particular, saying that Donovan Mitchell was supposed to be a New York Knick. Donovan Mitchell was supposed to be in orange and blue. It was supposed to be orange and blue skies with Donovan Mitchell in New York. What the hell happened with that? What the hell happened with that? You didn't pay this man enough. This man didn't want to go to New York, even though he's from the New York area. He didn't even want to go there. He didn't want to be in an embarrassment as the New York Knicks normally are when it comes into the playoffs. I mean, last year you guys got embarrassed on the play-in against the Atlanta Hawks. I don't want to reminisce some memories of the past, but That's a lot of my energy right now, and I'm feeling some playoff vibe. I'm feeling a different vibe. I'm feeling a different energy up in here, so you gotta forgive me for my energy when it comes to the injuries, though. Julius Randle. That's a big question mark for the New York Knicks. I don't know if he's going to play game one. I am assuming that he is. But do not take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Okay? Do not take what I'm saying for granted. I don't know if the final injury report is going to come out that Julius Randle is going to play. I mean, he could play, but I don't really know. But I don't know if he's going to play for sure. As far as the Cleveland Cavaliers, you should expect every single person that has sat down for the bench recently. Darius Garland, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, Donovan Mitchell, expect them to play come game one. Isaac Okoro, another question mark. He was day-to-day with knee soreness, but I expect him to play come Saturday at 6 p.m. on ESPN in Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland, Ohio. And let me just say this. For the city of Cleveland, y'all better be prepared. Y'all better be prepared to bring all of your goddamn smoke, because the Cleveland Cavaliers have been waiting since 2017-18 to come back into the playoffs. For the first time since 1998, you didn't have the cloud of LeBron James in your shadow, because guess what you're going to do? You're going to let them know that you don't need LeBron James to win in the playoffs. LeBron, as we stand right now, is the number 7 seed in the Western Conference with the Los Angeles Lakers, which I expect them to make a little noise. I expect the Los Angeles Lakers to make a little noise even with LeBron James, but we ain't talking about that right now. Excuse me, man. But for Cleveland, y'all need to bring energy. Y'all need to bring energy, and you need to let New York know that we want all the smoke. We want all the smoke in Cleveland, Ohio. You guys earned home court advantage for the reason you didn't win the division, because clearly the Milwaukee Bucks were a better team than the Cleveland Cavaliers this year. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But what you did was you earned home court advantage for a reason, and that was to let New York and the rest of the entire NBA landscape know that we are here, we are coming, and we want the smoke. The playoff preview in the regular season, I should say, the New York Knicks housed the Cleveland Cavaliers 3-1. Let's break it down game to game. And October 30th, in game one, the Cleveland Cavaliers dominated the New York Knicks. I'm not saying they beat them close. I say dominated the New York Knicks with a 121-108 win, outscoring them 37-15 in that fourth quarter through 3 quarters. All credit goes to the New York Knicks. I think the New York Knicks on that night outplayed the Cleveland Cavaliers for 3 quarters. If it wasn't for Donovan Mitchell dropping nearly 40 points, and for Cleveland to outscore the New York Knicks 37-15 in that fourth quarter, chances are the New York Knicks could have potentially swept the regular season series, but that's not what happened. In game one, Cleveland dominated, especially in the fourth quarter. In game number 2, it was the ugliest game that I've ever seen in my life. It was an ugly shooting night for both teams. They didn't shoot the ball particularly well. They both shot 40% for the field for the New York Knicks, 35% for the field for the Cleveland Cavaliers, but their 3-point percentage stood out to me. 23% for Cleveland, 17% for the New York Knicks. Not good. Absolutely not good. But the New York Knicks out-rebounded the Cleveland Cavaliers 54-39, almost a 16-point differential when it comes to the rebounds. That's what stood out to me about game 2, as the New York Knicks took the ugliest shooting game in the NBA, I believe, against the Cleveland Cavaliers, 92-81. In game 3, much more closer than game 2, but the difference was Julius freaking Randle. This man shot, I believe, if I'm saying this right, 8 threes on the New York Knicks' head, and he dropped 36 points. In game number 2, the New York Knicks shot 17% from three-point land. In game 3, they shot an incredible 51.5% from way downtown. That's insane. That is insane. Now, I'm not saying that Julius Randle could. He could make these same kind of numbers because we don't know how the New York Knicks are going to respond under pressure. But Donovan Mitchell kept coming, and that was really impressive about that game. Even though Jared Allen led, the Cleveland Cavaliers were 24 points. The New York Knicks took game 3 by a score of 105-103. And then as recent as March 31st, the New York Knicks beat down the Cleveland Cavaliers 130-116, outscoring them 25-14 in the fourth quarter. But what stood out to me, both teams scored over 40 points. It was clearly a playoff preview between Jalen Brunson from the New York Knicks, who I'm going to give the New York's credit for this. Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart saved the New York Knicks this season. Yes, they had players like Emmanuel Quickley, Quentin Grimes, Julius Randle. We get all of that. But what I'm saying is Josh Hart saved the New York Knicks season because plus 185 for the New York Knicks. The key matchup, I think, is going to stand out to me is Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle for the New York Knicks versus Donovan Mitchell, and in my opinion, no, it's not my opinion, it's a fucking fact, the defensive player of the year in the NBA is Evan Mobley. I mean, let me rant on this real quick. Who in the hell said Jaren Jackson Jr. for the Memphis Grizzlies should be the defensive player of the year? Fuck that shit. Absolutely. I really like Jaren Jackson Jr. as a player, but as a defensive player of the year, I mean, come on. Who better than Evan Mobley on the defensive player of the year board? Absolutely nobody. If anyone else thinks differently, then I guess that's their problem. But what I'm saying is this. I need Donovan Mitchell to step the hell up. This man is a playoff killer. He averages 31 points per game, second in the entire NBA in playoff scoring, behind Luka Doncic from the Dallas Mavericks with 32.5. I need Evan Mobley to be an absolute catalyst on the defensive end. As far as Jalen Brunson, I expect him to score. I expect him to come up with shots. And the Cleveland Cavaliers do have one strength, though. And that strength is that they have the number 1 defense in the entire NBA. So I expect the number 1 defense to show up and show out. I mean, they do struggle at defending threes. They do struggle at defending threes, and I will give New York that. But for the most part, I expect the New York Knicks defense, the Cleveland Cavaliers defense to show up and show out. As far as my prediction for the series as a whole, I expect Cleveland to win games 1 and 2 at home. New York can take games 3 and 4. And then I see Cleveland winning game 5 at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. And then the ultimate coup de grace. I see in game 6, Donovan Mitchell dropping 60 points in Madison Square Garden, sending the New York Knicks home and showing the New York Knicks that they don't want it. They didn't want the smoke from day one. They wanted Donovan Mitchell. You didn't get him. Stephen A. said that if Donovan Mitchell eliminates the New York Knicks, which I expect him to, is going to be a failure for the New York Knicks, and it is going to be an absolute failure for the New York Knicks. Give me the Cleveland Cavaliers in 6 to eliminate the New York Knicks, and then ultimately Cleveland might lose in the second round to potentially the Milwaukee Bucks. But this will be a playoff series to show Cleveland and the NBA that we are here and we are coming. I'll be back after this break to preview Kings and Warriors. Buckle up for that one. We'll be back after the... We're back on a brand new episode of Let 'Em Know Kings. This is the Cavs and Kings playoff preview episode, and now it is time to preview a playoff matchup 16 damn years in the making. Of course, I am talking about the Sacramento Kings finally back in the NBA playoffs for the first time since I believe 2006 was the last time that the Sacramento Kings went into the NBA playoffs, and the last time they were deeper in the Western Conference Finals, I believe it was against the Los Angeles Lakers, who had, at that particular time, the Sacramento Kings had the greatest show on court with Mike Bibby, Bobby Jackson, Vlade Divac, Peja Stojakovic and the crew, but unfortunately the Sacramento Kings got robbed of an NBA title, and I wasn't an NBA fan back then, but I know my history when it comes to basketball, okay? But this team is really, really special, okay? The Beam team, that is the Sacramento Kings. That is what they are. They finished the regular season 48-34, but 23-18, inside the Golden One Center, which I find pretty shocking. I found pretty shocking because they clinched home court advantage as the number 3 seed. I don't know how much of an advantage of that particular home court advantage is going to be for the Sacramento Kings, but listen, I'm all for it. I am all for it. It is the NBA playoffs, and I'm all for it, but I think Sacramento's going to run into a problem. I think Sacramento is going to run into a big problem, and that problem is in the form of the reigning, defending, undisputed National Basketball Association champions of the world, which are the Golden State Warriors, which finished the regular season 44-38. However, they have a better home record, but the road record, a little shaky. How about an 11-30 record on the road? So one of my keys coming into this series is, can the Sacramento Kings protect home court? Will they make sure that them clinching home court advantage was not a fluke? Am I expecting the Sacramento Kings to win all of the home games at Golden One Center? No, not really. At least 1, maybe 2, yes. If they go 3, they might surprise me. But let's dive into the preview of the matchup. In Game 1, in October 23rd, way in the beginning of the year, the Golden State Warriors won a shootout over the Sacramento Kings, 130-125, as Steph Curry led the Golden State Warriors with 33 points to lead all scorers. He dropped his third 30-point game at that particular time, even though the Sacramento Kings out-rebounded Golden State 51-37, but the scoring of Stephen Curry was a little bit too much. He was 11 for 22 for the field on that night. He was 4 for 4 for the foul line, despite the fact that De'Aaron Fox almost matched that energy with 26 points, with Sacramento outscoring the Golden State Warriors 31-17 in the fourth quarter. It wasn't enough because Golden State outscored the Sacramento Kings in the second quarter of that game 50-35, and that led to the Golden State Warriors holding on for a 130-125 win on that day. Game number 2, it was another close one. Much more closer than Game 1 that I expected scoring-wise. 116 to 113 was the final. Stephen Curry nearly dropped 50. Nearly 50 on the Sacramento Kings. He finished game number 2 with 47 points on that night. The rebounding was coming back to pretty much even, and despite the fact that Golden State had 15 turnovers, you cannot stop the fact that Stephen Curry is the greatest shooter that God can ever create. He dropped a season-high 47 points at this particular moment in time, knocking down 7 3-pointers as the Golden State Warriors came into that night in a 5-game losing streak. They snapped it in a really big way, taking game 2 of the regular season series 116 to 113. Now, in November 13th, the Golden State Warriors won at home. They took one inside the Golden One Center with a 122 to 115 win. This game was owned by Domantas Sabonis. He dropped 26 points. He had 22 freaking rebounds. 22 freaking rebounds. It's something that a different team that players can go to, a little change of scenery can help in a big way, and boy, oh boy, Domantas Sabonis on that night was like, thank God I'm not an Indiana Pacer. Thank God I am out of Indiana, because he is absolutely balling as a member of the Sacramento Kings, but we will talk about that in just a little bit. 26 points and 22 rebounds on that particular night by Domantas Sabonis gave the Sacramento Kings a huge win, 122 to 115, and then game number 4, it was basically the Golden State Warriors against the Sacramento bench, if we can be completely honest with ourselves. I mean, Sacramento rested almost everybody. They were without Domantas Sabonis, Kevin Huerter, and De'Aaron Fox on that day, and Golden State was like, you know what, say less. Say less. We'll show you what it feels like to play playoff caliber basketball, as they dominated the Golden State Warriors 119 to 97 as Klay Thompson scored 29 points on that night. Stephen Curry added 25 points. I did a little recap on that. Check that out. Despite the fact that Golden State turned the ball over 24 times, Sacramento hurt themselves because they couldn't really capitalize on those turnovers. Now, with that being said, I'm actually very excited about this series, because here's why. Sacramento is coming into this series as the number 1 scoring offense in all of NBA this year. I expect both offenses to come out firing. Yes, I expect Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson to get theirs, and I expect the number 1 offense in the NBA of De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Huerter, Domantas Sabonis, Keegan Murray, and the crew to fire their own shots. The one edge that I'm going to give Golden State, though, is the defense. I think they're much more established on the defensive end than Sacramento, because lately, over the last few games, I've been seeing that the Kings are struggling to get stops on the defensive side of the ball. Will that come back to hurt the Sacramento Kings? Perhaps it could be. Perhaps it could come back to hurt them, because they are not playing just any other team. No. They are playing the reigning, defending, undisputed NBA champion, and I expect the Golden State Warriors to get their runs in, and then Sacramento could come back to get their own run of their own. Like, let's say, for example, Sacramento, I should say, Golden State drops a 55-point quarter just like they did in Portland the other night. Sacramento could be like, okay, you dropped 55? Say less. Watch this. We just dropped 47 points on your asses and responded on a very big run. Could that happen? Absolutely. I expect a lot of offensive power, offensive firepower, and I expect a whole lot of offense in this series. I am not sleeping on the Golden State Warriors at all. I'm giving the Golden State Warriors a little bit of respect because they are the champions. They've been there before. They know what it feels like to be in the NBA playoffs. Now, I think last year Golden State had to be in the play-in order to make it to the championship while Sacramento was sitting on the bench, but it has been 16 years, far too long. It's been 16 long years since the Sacramento Kings been in the playoffs, and let me tell you something. Let me tell you something right off the jump. I expect the Golden One Center and the Chase Center to be automatic sellouts every single night. I expect the Golden State Warriors to show up in the Golden One Center, and I expect the Kings fans to show up and show out at the Chase Center. My key matchup for me is the Splash Brothers of Curry and Thompson versus Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox of the Sacramento Kings. I expect a big-time matchup. I expect a whole lot of offensive firepower. I expect both teams to come out with guns blazing. And here's my prediction of this series. This series is going to go 7 games. This series is going to go 7 games. I am going to give the Sacramento Kings a slight edge. And I mean slight because it is absolutely close. It is an even line right now. An even line, the money line, minus 115 for Golden State, minus 105 for the Sacramento Kings. It is dead even. That's how close this is. It is dead even. So this is going to be a 7-game series. Here's how it's going to go down. I got the Sacramento Kings winning in game 1. Maybe winning in game 2 at the Golden One Center. And then Golden State being as dominant at home might win game number 3, and then I'm going to give Sacramento game number 4 because they've been a pretty good road team themselves. And then Golden State would win game 5. Sacramento would win games numbers 6 and 7, and game 7 potentially is at Golden One Center. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how loud Golden One Center, Chase Center, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, and Madison Square Garden are going to be? It is going to be the craziest NBA playoff series ever. And here on Let 'Em Know Kings, you are already locked in. You are already excited. You are here for the breakdowns and the post-game reactions. So all I will say is this. I am not going to give you a full schedule of the post-game breakdowns as of yet, but be ready for my reactions because the hype is real. The excitement is here. The NBA playoffs are back in Cleveland, Ohio, and especially back in Sacramento, California. And for all my Cavs and Kings fans out there, get excited, get pumped up, do whatever you got to do because come Saturday night, we will let them know and ultimately light the beam as I got the Kings and the Cavs to win game 1 of their respective series. That's going to do it for today's special playoff preview edition of Let 'Em Know Kings. You can find this show, which is free and available on Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Radio Public, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, or Spotify for podcasters.com/CLES. Please rate and spread the word out to your friends about this show. I'm Skylar Weisberg, and until next time, no matter where you go, be prepared to let them know. I will be back on Sunday for a Game 1 recap. Until then, peace. Let's go Cavs, and let's go Kings!